Okay, so now we're going to move on to step 3, which is how do the characters help to develop the theme of cruelty? All right, this is the question we're going to want to answer in step 3, which is going to end up becoming our second body paragraph. All right, and your third paragraph overall. All right, so for this part, we're going to want to fill in question 1 and this graph here, question 2, and this graph here, and question 3 in this graph here. And then finally, we want to answer question 4. All right, so we'll go back up to question 1. So what we want to do is we want to list the 4 main characters in your scene and explain whether they are static or dynamic characters. You may list fewer than 4 characters, but I do not recommend more than 4 characters. All right, again, that goes back to what we said in the last video. Make sure you keep it to 4 or under. And you can have groups of characters such as the mob or the jury or the prison guards. Okay? We're going to want to list the characters here, just like we did before. And then over here, we're going to want to list whether they're static or dynamic and why. We need to make sure, just like we do with everything in English, to explain. All right? So, again, I'll go back here, and I will fill in my characters for marigolds. All right. Now again, you see I used the same 3. And we'll start with Lisbeth. Is she a static or a dynamic character? Now she is dynamic, right? Because she changes from a selfish girl to an understanding adult. Remember, dynamic characters change. Static characters stay the same. All right. And she is dynamic. She changes from a selfish girl to an understanding adult. She has a coming of age moment in the same way that Scout throughout the story has coming of age moments in To Kill a Mockingbird. All right. For Joey, Joey is dynamic as well because he begins to see that Lisbeth has gone too far. Miss Lottie, she on the other hand is static. She simply cares for her flowers for the entire story. And for NA, no surprise here, NA. All right? Remember, dynamic, the character changes. Static, the character does not change. For question 2, list the 4 main characters in your scene and explain whether they are flat or round. Now remember, flat characters are not complex. They don't have a lot of details provided about them. They're usually our less important characters. Round characters are complex characters. They have many details provided about them. They are usually your main characters. All right? Explain. So, again, we'll come over here. We have my character list for marigolds. All right, Lisbeth. She is a round character, right? The story is told from her point of view. She is the narrator. Your narrator is almost always a round character, okay? The story is told from her point of view. She is the narrator, so we get her thoughts, feelings, and actions. Joey, he is a flat character. We don't receive a lot of information about Joey. All we really know about him is that he likes adventure. Now, it's important to note that, even though we don't get a lot of information about Joey, even though he is a flat character, he really likes adventure, and that pushes Lisbeth to do things. All right, so it is important that we do mention what we do know about the characters, even if they're flat. Miss Lottie, again, she's a flat character. Just as important, all we really know is that she loves her flowers. NA, no shock here, again, NA. All right. And then number 3, list as many characteristics and attributes of the characters in your scene as you can think of. What words can you use to describe them? How do they tend to act? And what do they tend to do? How do they tend to treat others, etc. All right. Again, my character list already filled in, and we will highlight these and go through. All right. Lisbeth, some of the adjectives I came up with for Lisbeth: immature, growing, curious, hormonal, learning, and understanding. Joey is adventurous, curious, and pressuring. Miss Lottie is dedicated, skilled, annoyed, and solitary. And NA is NA. Again, even if they're round or flat, even if they're flat, you have to say what you know about them, okay? We still know things about flat characters. We just don't know as much as we do about flat characters as we do about round. So that reflects in this chart. Elizabeth was a round character, so I have more information for her. That's where Joey and Miss Lottie were flat, so I don't have as much to say. Now, number 4. Are any of these characters in your scene symbolic? If so, what do they symbolize? Now, one of the big symbols for characters that we talked about in To Kill a Mockingbird was that idea of being a mockingbird, right? Singing a beautiful song, but not harming anybody, all right? In my story, in Marigold, I have 2 characters that can act as symbols. Elizabeth is a symbol for adolescence. She thinks before she acts, or excuse me, she does things before she acts, like young teenagers often do, based on her emotions. Joey is a symbol for childhood. He has a childlike sense of adventure, all right? So we see that these characters show important growth moments in people, right? Childhood and adolescence. Adolescence being the time between childhood and adulthood. What you're in now, your adolescence. And that wraps up step 3. All right, so again, make sure that you're filling these charts out as much as possible. And if you have any questions, please refer back to your teachers.